Carter. She's a program manager at Boone County Family Resources. She has a master's of psychology from CMSU. She's been in this field for 30 years, so she's got a lot of great experience and some expertise. And she's been at Boone County Family Resources for 27, and that holds a lot of ground, in my opinion. So I'm really excited to hear from her, hear what she has to say. But for a hobby, for something that she likes to do outside work, is kayaking. So that sounds kind of refreshing, actually. So here she is, Renee Carter from BCFR.
Hello, I'm happy to be with you. Can you hear me? Okay, and so yes, I'm from Boone County Family Resources, and we provide services for individuals with developmental disabilities. We have family support that provides case management, so that helps people get linked to services they need and monitor those services and develop plans for individuals. And we serve people through the lifespan. Then on my program, it's Life and Work Connections. We help people do anything that's related to, living their life, accessing the community, getting jobs, and just overall, helping them with those plans that are in action. We're more like a provider, part of our agency. And then we also have supported living, which is a residential apartments where people live and they're supported in their adult lives. So that's kind of a general view. We're a Senate Bill 40 board, which means we get county funds. We also access federal and state funds in order to pay for services. So I'm going to talk today about building employment skills for transition, why it's important, and how to make a plan. So I'll see if I didn't get to practice getting mine set up, so we'll hope that I'm able to do it. Okay. So the objectives for this session will be to identify questions to explore prior to starting the journey. I always like to do that and look at what do I need to ask myself before I begin doing something new or learning something new. Secondly is know the reasons planning for employment skills is important. So I think it's important to know, like, why am I doing this? What is the usefulness of it? Identifying factors for successful outcomes, knowing how to reach employment goals, and then have information about how to guide the team that you support in reaching their goals. So the first thing I like for people to do is to think about, adulthood. And so I'd like you just to reflect for a few moments as we go through these questions and just think about, what do you consider to be a successful adult life? Kind of envisioning, what you've experienced yourself or what you've seen other people experience. Secondly, what are your hopes and fears about the team that you support transitioning out of school? I think we need to identify both of those things because our fears can often impede us from helping someone. So we need to be able to address them and know how to look at them and figure out how we can get past those things. Thirdly, what do you think improves transition outcomes? Is this something you reflected on? Is it something that you've been concerned about? You probably have some ideas about what it is that would make it better. Next, do you think work experience as a teen leads to better outcomes for employment as an adult? Do you think developing a social network could improve those outcomes? And what other experiences might improve the outcome for adulthood? So I brought you some information today, and I'll tell you the good news after we cover some of the things that may sound like bad news. So the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, their highlights for 2020 were that across all age groups, persons with disabilities were much less likely to be employed than those with no disabilities. Across all educational attainment groups, unemployment rates for persons with a disability were higher than those for persons without a disability. In 2020, 29% of workers with a disability were employed part-time compared with 16% of those with no disability. And employed persons with a disability were more likely to be self-employed than those with no disability, which that information might be surprising to some people. Some more data is that there are significant gaps remaining between youth and young adults with disabilities in education and the workforce system, despite federal and state legislation and systematic efforts. More than 6% of youth and young adults have a disability, and they are less likely than their peers to complete high school, enter post-secondary education, or obtain a bachelor's degree, or to find a job, enter the job market. They're also more than twice as likely to live in poverty. So compared to their peers, they're often discouraged from seeking opportunities to remain in or reconnect with education and workforce systems, while their peers are, preparing for lifelong success in careers and financial independence. And then long-term follow-ups to graduation show that less youth with disabilities had enrolled or attended post-secondary schools. Fewer reported having employment, and they were less likely to live independently than their non-disabled peers. And so this was from the National Center for Special Education research. So, some of you might at this point be saying, so, why are we here? Why bother if all these statistics say that the chances are slim of success? But there's good news on that. So there are a number of predictors of competitive employment, including high school employment experiences, parental expectations of post-high school employment, arrest record, and school type. The strongest predictors were high school employment experiences and parental expectations of post-high school employment. So if you take those two factors, you can make big differences in someone's life. And high parental expectations really is important, and it's very critical to success. So, once again, there's the findings were showing that, highlighted in another study, that transition process is critical for success. Employment training and work experiences in high school, and high parental expectations. And so you have an opportunity to change the trajectory of the team that you support by planning employment training and work experiences, but also by you having high expectations. And sometimes that's hard because of information as parents that we get if we're supporting an individual with a disability. And so we have to still have faith that we know that person. So it does matter, and caregiver support matters. It's probably one of the biggest factors involved, is that caregivers are a necessary component in ensuring that their disabled team are provided with the services that are mandated to assist with the transition from school to adulthood and work. Families and caregivers also provide an important role in helping youth with disabilities envision their life as an adult. Successful transition means developing a network of relationships with individuals in the community that have similar interests. And families and caregivers are better prepared to support their youth with a disability achieve this goal because they know that person really well. And just like the rest of us, developing a network of relationships helps people with obtaining and keeping employment. So it doesn't matter what your disability status is. When people tell you about what's the best way to find a job, they say networking, networking, networking. And that's the same for our youth. It's who we know that can help them have influence in finding a job and getting those experiences. And then also family, friends, and other caregivers are often the only long-term supports a person has. So you may be served by an agency, the person may be served by someone, but those people who remain stable in their lives are families, friends, and other caregivers. And so remember that you have the expertise for that. You know, as a family, you can work to determine what you and the team you support want their path to be. What is the peak you hope to reach? And what do you want for the team to do for work? You know, what's your vision of that? What does the team want to do for a job? But more importantly, what do you not want? It's important to start there. Like, what don't you want to happen? For instance, if you don't want your team and your team doesn't want to go to sheltered employment, then what steps are you going to take to move toward competitive employment? And lastly, on this part is very important, and I run into this all the time, is to have a clear vision of what kind of earnings and hours that you expect. People don't really think through that very much. And a lot of times they expect that they'll just earn minimum wage, but you can shoot higher than that. So the first thing you can do, even with children, not even teens, is to start exploring what their interests and strengths are. Why you think work is important for the person that you support, and what are some of the resources that will support them in discovering career goals. Quite possibly exploring additional interests by trying new activities. All of those things help feed into the development of that person, of knowing who they are, what they're good at, and why they want to work. So if you're not sure that you can do this alone, and I can't speak to the counties that you live in as to what services you have, that Parent can probably help you with that, is that you can try to locate services in your area to assist with discovery and exploration types of activities. But gaining some confidence in yourself that you're able to help the person that you're supporting be part of this on your own. So while you're exploring jobs, one thing that I like to do and have my staff do with teenagers and also with the adults we support is to go around and look at different businesses. And, you know, in our busy lives, sometimes we don't have time to do this as, quote, the only activity that we're doing. So it's really important to try to weave that into what you're already doing. So if you're at the grocery store, you know, asking questions of, you know, what do people do who work here? And kind of going through a store and discovering, like, you know, who's working in produce and what does it look like that job is, and how many hours a day do you think that person has to stand on their feet or bend or whatever it is that you might consider to be important to the person that you're supporting. You can watch to see how similar jobs and work environments are different and determine what works for your team. One thing that we've discovered by helping people find jobs is that no two jobs, even though the job title is the same, is the same at different work environments. For instance, doing the job in one place might have a lot of noise or lights or human interaction, but that same job title somewhere else may be a totally different job where it's quiet, there's not a lot of lighting, and they don't really have to interact with that many people. And then, you know, remembering that different jobs are done in different manners. Like one thing that we learned is, you know, if you're doing a stocking job at Hobby Lobby as opposed to a grocery store or a Target, is done in a totally different manner with totally different equipment. And so those things are important in terms of, you know, what the capacity is for the person that's going to do the job and how different it is. And then lastly, for this page is help your team build a social network through clubs and extracurricular activities at school, church, in the neighborhood, and local businesses. Even short interactions over multiple times helps. And as they start to learn people and know what connections those people have to businesses and other activities, they're developing their own social network, and that takes some of the load off of you. Also, it's important to look at some of your own past life experiences and what they've taught you about reaching goals for the team you support, and how you might move forward using that information to plan the future. What's worked for you or what's worked for the team, and what have the barriers been for the experiences that you have? That'll help you anticipate for your team, you know, what things might need to be in place, what things might you need to do first. Start looking at other skills that your team has or needs to work. A lot of times things that might not seem like they translate are very helpful in the workplace or even just getting to work. So, you know, discovering things about your team and working forward on, you know, can they access the community alone? Do they have alone time? Or do they need help? So also working with whoever is the team that works with your team is to discover, like, can this person really access the community alone or learn those skills, or is this just an arbitrary requirement that may have been put in place by the team? And I see this sometimes where someone might not have any alone time, but they're really capable of learning those things. So trying to figure out what's realistic for the team that you're supporting. Can they take public transportation alone, or will they need more oversight? And can they self-advocate with others, or does an adult do that for them? And how can you help them start to learn those steps, because in the workplace, they're going to have to eventually self-advocate for themselves. Look at what qualities they already have for someone to hire them. You know, if they don't have them, then develop a plan to obtain that goal, and let them practice at home, at school, you know, maybe a volunteer position, even if it's something that's only done once a year. Let them take the lead on delivering packages to someone, you know, maybe delivering meals to, you know, the elderly or someone who can't get out to get their own meals. Maybe they can do some things at neighbors' homes or at their church. So trying to think kind of, what is your network and how can that network help support you in giving them chances to see what kind of work they can do. Also determine if they have any experiences involving skills used at work. For example, do they do chores at home? And if not, how can you get them involved with that? Do they volunteer in the community? They may be volunteering at school already and you just don't realize that they're doing that. And those are good experiences because they're learning how to do work. You know, have they done any care for family and friends who are sick or who need some assistance? You know, reciprocity and caregiving is very important skill to learn, and it teaches them, you know, how to work independently. Do they do job shadowing at school? So do they get opportunities at school to watch and see what people are doing? Do they have chores at school? Sometimes, you know, some of the students I've worked with, they were able to work in the office to deliver notes or mail or packages. They had chores of watering the plants or doing something for the teachers. So those things help build those skills. Have they done work blocks in the community or internships in school? Because some of the schools have those, they do here. And do they mow the lawn or do they have a paper route? So all of those things build, just like your other teens who don't have disabilities, it helps build those skills so later on they can use what they've learned. And then next, look at the resources that are available to help support you. For instance, it might be some sort of technology you could explore. If you have an independent living services agency in your community, they often have technology that they can share with you. Do you need a paid service, or is there something generic in the community that you could use, or someone you know that can help you reach that goal? If you have a case manager at school or from an agency, they can help you target resources that you can. So, you know, how do you get work experiences? And we've covered some of this. So we went through some of the options earlier, such as school work blocks or a program, babysitting, delivering newspapers, and lawn care. There are some other options. There might be more formalized programs through your community, church, or disability agencies. So you can explore those by calling or searching online. Your school or case manager also might know those options, and they should know them to share with you. When looking at options, make sure you determine the level of support your team's going to need though. For instance, if they can do most of their chores independently after initial training and can be alone without safety concerns, they're not going to need a lot of support on the job or on a volunteer experience. If they need hand over hand to complete a task and cannot judge most unsafe situations, they're going to need one-on-one support to begin with until they learn those skills. And so as they reach different levels of independence, is making sure that you're fading back and giving less support but providing monitoring, or if someone's working with them, they're providing monitoring. And so once the teen has had an experience is successful at that level, it's very important to plan that next level of challenges so that they can get some additional experiences. Deliberately planning that until the teen is ready for a job is very important. And most businesses require teens to be about 16. But there might be other work experience they can have before that. Here in Columbia, we are lucky to have a number of different experiences that 14, 15-year-olds can do, maybe not for pay, but to volunteer. And then if there aren't services in your area to locate a job, think about friends, family, and coworkers and business associates who can maybe help you, at least allow them to do some volunteer type things. So just like any other job applicant, your network is your friend. So I just wanted to provide some thoughts for you because I think it's very important for you to understand how important you are to the teen that you support. You know, supporting children and teens with disabilities in this venture can be taxing for caregivers and parents. So to reduce that stress, you know, look at, are there other family members or siblings, extended family members who can be a resource and a support? I know sometimes, you know, we're hesitant to have siblings provide support, but that's almost like a peer type of situation where they're learning from someone their own age and seeing them be successful. It gives them a chance to see that they can do the same thing. Determine what each family member's strengths are and divide up tasks to allow the family to share the load. Siblings can help with transporting or walking the teen to and from work. Maybe they like to explore new places and can help them check out workplaces. An extended family can also help with other children or assist with some of the other tasks. So it gives you more time to do it. Likewise, don't forget that the teen you're supporting also has the skills to pick up some of the slack at home to support you. Sharing responsibility for family tasks builds skills, confidence, empathy, and self-reliance. And so when you include them as a family member and sharing, rather than feeling like they can't, they aren't up to the task of helping, it kind of undermines their independence. So making sure you allow them to do the things they're capable of doing and not feeling guilty that you're relying on them. And lastly, remember that small bits and chunks of working on these outcomes helps. If you have a busy life, just taking a few minutes, like I said, at a store, or, you know, when you're in a doctor's office, waiting in a restaurant for your meal to be delivered, thinking about what those workers there do helps build curiosity, and it helps you reduce your own stress. So you don't feel like you're having to take out separate time to do these things. And it also lets other family members and friends help you, because they're probably eager to pitch in, and it helps them feel more connected. So do you have any questions for me about how this process might work for your team? Oh.
Hi, this is Yvette. Let me get my camera back. I'm sorry. So
that's okay.
here in Boone County, we have a program, the CARE program, where
Right.
there is a group of kiddos from Boone County Family Resources that can go out into the community. And from my experience with that, some of the parents are kind of afraid to let go, I guess, kind of,
Right.
they kind of hover. I can't really think of the right term, but they ask a lot of questions. They want to pop in. So the CARE program gets kiddos out in the community, and you guys in other counties might have something similar. They get out in the community and they have a job coach and then they have a support coordinator. But the parents, I've noticed, kind of have trouble letting go of that. And so what are some suggestions for situations like that, even though these kids have a job coach and a support coordinator and are at a business where they are supported?
Right. I think that is a big step. And I think that's why, and I know if you already have a teen, it's probably too late, but is starting early with some of that letting go and seeing that the teen can be successful, having, some contacts of people who have done the care program before or have had their teen working before, and talking with them helps. It really is important to kind of network with people who can support you in letting go. And that's something we're constantly trying to help people with. I have some resources that I can send. There's a gentleman, his name's Eric Goll. It's Goll. And he has actually a website, and he does presentations, and he works with family members to help them learn how to let go and let the person develop their skills and have faith that they're going to be able to do it. Because, as a professional, it's easy for me to say that, but he is actually a family member. And he said, he talks about, there'll be mistakes, there'll be broken plates, but he teaches people how to let go a little bit at a time. So I'll send that information your way to share, because he's probably much better at doing that than I am. I know we can try to console people in the fact that it's going to be okay, but I think hearing it from people that have actually accomplished it's a lot easier for them. It does help parents if they can start early and they can gradually move to the goals, then they get more relaxed about it and they have more faith. But their teen being able to handle whatever it is without something horrible happening, because people think horrible things will happen to my child, and they discover it doesn't. And that's why we like to build on experiences where, someone's on our janitorial crew, and then maybe they do a SWEP program, which is through vocational rehabilitation for teens who are going to be seniors, and then maybe doing something else, and then they get a job in the community. And so it helps build on that and helps parents feel better about letting go.
Yvette, can I say something real quick?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
It's Brittany. Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely. You sure
Okay.
can.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just gonna kind of echo what Amy said. I've been working with BCFR since I was born, because I've had my disability since I was born. And Renee and her team are amazing. They actually helped me get my job here at Parent Lake. The whole agency itself is amazing. I believe that if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be as independent as I am today. I live on my own and I supervise my own staff. So I
Yes.
encourage you, if you have an agency like this in your area, you need these kind of services, don't hesitate to reach out, because it will definitely be beneficial.
Yeah, it can be a game changer, can't it?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you. That was great.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Renee, for that wonderful presentation, just filled with lots of great information for us. And everyone joining us today. And thanks to everybody who asked those great questions and provided your thoughts and viewpoints at the end. That's what our support groups are all about, learning from each other, sharing information, and trying to figure this all out together, right? So we always welcome your thoughts and comments, and just are so glad to have you all with us today.